Power Rangers is the newest live-action movie to the acclaimed franchise that is the Power Rangers. Now, this was a movie that I wasn't as excited for going into it, simply because I actually didn't really grow up a Power Rangers fan. It was a franchise that I tried to get into when I was a kid, but for whatever reason, it didn't hook me. That being said, this is a live-action movie of the Power Rangers. I saw the trailers, I'm like, yeah, this looks like it could be a fun action movie, so I felt like it was one of those things that I really should check out. So as you all know, this movie surfaces around 5 teenagers who eventually become the Power Rangers. You have Jason Scott, who's the football star, recently got kicked off the team though because of off-the-field issues. Then you have Kimberly, the ex-cheerleader, who just cut her hair really short because, you know, fuck high school. Then we meet Billy, who's this really shy, awkward, very smart kid who loves inventing, doesn't really have that many friends. Until one day in detention, Jason Scott backs him up from a guy who was picking on him, and so, you know, now they've started to form their friendship along the way. It gets to a point where one night, Billy convinces Jason to take him to this mountain so Billy can do a little more investigating into it. There, not only do the two of them run into Kimberly, but they also run into 2 other students, Zach and Trini. The 5 of them discover these power coins, and then the next morning, they wake up and discover that they all have superhuman strength. So now that they all officially believe they're superheroes, they decide to go back to that mine, you know, do a little more digging into it, literally and figuratively. There, they discover a very ancient spaceship where they meet this android known as Alpha 5, and they also meet the consciousness of Zordon, who's played by Bryan Cranston. Never a bad choice to have in a movie. And here Zordon's consciousness explains to them, it's like, you've discovered these coins, you now have these superhuman abilities, which makes you the Power Rangers. He tells them how these Power Rangers were these great warriors who protected the world. Zordon was one of these Rangers, and he died protecting the world from Rita, who was attempting to find the world's Zeo Crystal to destroy it. Now Rita is back, and she's planning to finish her job in destroying the world and everyone in it, unless the Power Rangers can stop her. The problem is, these kids need to be able to morph into their Power Ranger suits if they want to have any chance in stopping Rita, and they're just not able to do that yet. So now it's this point going forward throughout the movie. It's the kids learning to train without their powers, you know, preparing to get ready to face Rita, and it's also them, you know, growing closer together, becoming a team, becoming friends. And that right there was a positive and a negative for me, because when you already see what the kids are capable of doing without their suits, and you see what awaits for them when they do get their suits, it has you really wanting to see that action, to see some throwdowns, just to see some exciting shit in the movie. And when you see that, and when it is character development for a while, it definitely feels slow for a while. Was hoping we get to see a little bit more action in a movie about the Power Rangers. But at the same time, this is a positive as well, because we do learn a little bit more about each character, what each one of them deals with, why each of them in a way feel like an outsider, and it's just really nice eventually seeing them not just become a team, but become friends. And it's all throughout this movie we see glimpses of Rita here and there, played by Elizabeth Banks. Now, what did I think of Rita? She was interesting. Granted, I know nothing about the Power Rangers universe, so maybe Rita's always been this crazy, weird bitch. Because that's exactly what she is in this movie. She's a whack job. Just going throughout this town, collecting all the gold she can find so she can form her giant minion Goldar, and just, you know, creeping everybody the fuck out as she does it. Which did make sense for me why Elizabeth Banks was casted as her, because you really look at Elizabeth Banks' career, a lot of the characters that she's played in many of her movies have just been weird, crazy woman. Seriously, go check her filmography. I don't think I'm wrong. Eventually, Rita does find the Power Rangers themselves, and has also discovered that Billy has been able to figure out where the location of the Zeo Crystal is. And eventually, he tells Rita where the crystal is because he doesn't want to die, he doesn't want his friends to die, but eventually Rita still kills him regardless. So the 4 of them bring Billy's body back to the ship to try to find a way if there's anything they can do to bring him back to life. I will say, this was a surprisingly emotional moment. It hit me in the feels a little bit. Because right here, you really do buy that they've all grown close to each other. They've all really grown to care about each other. You really do feel like, in this moment, they have become a team. Zordon sees that, and then rather using this opportunity to revive himself, because throughout this movie he knew that, you know, if these Power Rangers could come together, then he could come back to life, become the leader of them. But he ultimately in this moment decides to use the opportunity to revive Billy, and give this team over to Jason Scott because he has become the true leader of this group. They're also able to use these giant armored creature things to go into battle with. And now we finally get to see the Power Rangers throw down with Rita and her army, and it's actually pretty awesome. It's great seeing the Power Rangers finally really kicking ass, seeing what their suit gives them the ability to do, seeing what they can do with these armored animals. It's really cool looking, it's fun, it's witty. They surprisingly threw in a lot of humor with this battle, which actually added quite a bit to it. But eventually the Power Rangers getting overwhelmed by Rita and Goldar, and eventually the Power Rangers decide to combine their Zords. Yes, Zord was the name of those mechanical creatures I was talking about earlier. I don't know why I forgot about that. So they formed this giant Megazord to just go to war with Goldar, and now you see these two Titans just fighting each other to death. And eventually, through working together to control the Megazord, they're able to defeat Goldar, defeat Rita, and save the town, and now they're all heroes. So all in all, I will say, Power Rangers was definitely an enjoyable movie. The actors who played these teenagers who eventually became the Power Rangers, they all did a surprisingly good job. And I don't mean surprisingly as in I thought they were going to suck, but I don't really know any of these actors from anywhere, but they all really carried it in this movie, and they needed to, so it was good to see that. The movie had a lot of solid humor. I did like the character development that's in this movie. The action, when it does finally go down, it is definitely a good time. The movie is slow for a while. There are moments when you do wish it would pick up the pace a little bit more. I do wish we got a little more action in this movie, and I will say for me, Rita wasn't the most memorable villain I've ever seen in a movie. Power Ranger fans may feel very differently about that, but that is just me. And that's the other thing to consider. If you grew up a huge Power Rangers fan, then you're probably going to enjoy this movie a little bit more than someone like me who was just watching a movie and didn't really grow up a Power Rangers fan. But in the end, I still had fun with this movie, and if it ends up leading to new Power Rangers movies, which it probably will, I'm interested to see where it goes. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.